The great debasement trade is here. Think of this. You bust your ass for every paycheck, you pay your taxes, and yet you still see your savings shrink year after year after year. It's pretty frustrating, right? Welcome to the world of debasement, a centuries-old game where governments quietly steal the value of your money. But there's a twist. The wealthy are turning into profit. This video will show you how you can do it too and why it's not too late to join them and not be a victim, but a beneficiary of the great debasement trade. To understand debasement, we've got to start way back in the yonder years of history with the Roman denarius, the original money trick that still haunts us today. The denarius was first minted during the Second Punic War between 218 and 201 BC, and it quickly became the backbone of Rome's economy. Now, for centuries, it held stable weight and silver purity until things start changing. The strain of wars, massive infrastructure projects, government spending, all that kind of shit. Sound familiar? Everything starts to go on and it exceeds the empire's revenue. Around 54 AD, when Emperor Nero took power, Rome's coffers were under pressure. Wars, a massive fire, and civil unrest had drained the treasury. Now, to cope, Nero made a pretty crazy decision. The big first move to devalue the currency. He cut the silver content in the denarius by about 20%. Coins that had once been nearly pure silver became noticeably weaker, yet still circulated as full value coins. As the decades passed, they just kept doing it. They kept doing the same bullshit, dilution. Each one diluted the coin a little bit more to fund their ambitions, their wars, public infrastructure projects, whatever. By the 3rd century, the denarius had become almost worthless. The empire flooded the economy with cheap copper alloy coins covered by thin silver washes. The game was up. Public confidence collapsed, inflation soared, and what started as a reliable silver coin, the, gold standard of silver coins, was reduced to scrap metal. The fall of the denarius was no accident. It was the direct result of idiots. Idiots running governments. Glad we solved that problem, didn't we? No, still same shit today, just different year. You could replace the Roman Empire with the United States of America because we're seeing a very similar thing playing out. It's not even silver this time, it's just pieces of paper and numbers on computers. It's even worse. The story hasn't changed very much. The US dollar, once backed by gold, became the world's reserve currency after the Bretton Woods Agreement. But that link to gold was severed back in 1971, and they switched from gold-backed model to a trust me bro model. Now the dollar is backed only by the full faith and credit of the United States government. This is all just a formal way of saying nothing really backs the currency. Just like ancient Rome, the US now carries a debt to GDP ratio of around 124%. Debt has gone out of control. They're 37 trillion. What is it? No, it's 38 trillion now, almost 38 trillion. Such a big number. Just print a few $1 trillion coins, guys. That'll solve the problem anyway. The national debt has exploded. The annual interest payments on that debt exceeding $1 trillion a year. The only way to pay for it, print more money. It's the only option they're left. Oh, they're gonna try to grow out of it. Maybe, man, you have to run the economy super hot for a super long time. It's hard. So it comes back to debasement. At its core, it is the erosion of a currency's value over time. When a government prints money or runs massive deficits, each dollar in your pocket buys a little less tomorrow than it does today. I always like to give the example. My dad had taken a $100 bill and put it in an envelope to me when I was born and gave it to me today. Its purchasing power would be 75% diminished. $100 when back in the 90s when I was a kid felt like a lot of money. $100 today is like, guess I'll get a few drinks with that. But the easiest way to keep track of the great debasement trade is through hard assets, things that can't be printed or diluted. Gold, silver, land. They all retain real value. For example, 25 years ago, an ounce of gold cost around $250 to $300. Today, it's over $4,000. In contrast, paper money steadily loses purchasing power every year. 25 years ago, a Big Mac was $2.24. Today, the same burger costs $8. And guess what? If you price your house in gold, hasn't changed very much over 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or even a few thousand years. Actually, go back to ancient Roman times, and the approximate amount of gold you need to buy a standard house now was about the same amount back then. Now, before we get into the rest of this story, and it's a real whopper of a story, so you got to listen up here, guys. But I've got an announcement for you if you want to get $3,000. If you've been around for a while, you already know FEMX, one of the longest standing, most trusted exchanges in the cryptocurrency game. Their new offer, next level. It's crazy. And it's available for new users who use the link right down here, as well as existing users who have used that link to sign up under me in the past. Here's the deal. Deposit $10,000, you can get $3,000 cash back. Deposit $5,000, get $1,500 cash back. $3,000, get you $350 cash back. The more you deposit, the more cash back you're getting. You're never going to see deals this aggressive for a while. Again, I've been trading on Femex for years because it's secure, it's liquid, it's open to traders worldwide, anyone, anywhere. That's you. You might need a VPN in some cases. This promo only lasts a week, actually less than a week at the time you're watching this. So don't sit on it. Act now. Link down below. Go and claim your bonus before it disappears. Now, I can already hear what you guys are saying. Lark, I don't need convince. I'm a Bitcoin guy. I know the greenback's going down, man. But I've been hearing about the debasement trade for a while now, and is it too late to profit from it? Well, that's the wrong question. The right question is, will the money printing ever stop? You know, the answer is absolutely, positively no. They can't. They can't. They're broke. The only way they can do it is by keeping to print money. Will governments and central banks ever admit that spending beyond their means and creating money out of thin air ends badly? Of course not. They'll run it and run it and run it until hyperinflation kicks in and we're taking bricks of dollars down to the store to buy a loaf of bread. And that's not a theory. History has proved it time and time and time again. The Roman Empire collapsed in slow motion as its currency was debased, coin by coin. Between 1965 and 1970, the average price of a new U.S. home was around $21,000 to $26,000. After the dollar was taken off the gold standard, prices shot up to $42,000 in 1975, $76,000 by 1980, and roughly $512,000 by 2024. Here's the kicker. The federal minimum wage is still $7.25. The same as it's been since 2009. In 2010, the average home cost $272,000. Now it's nearly doubled that, but wages have basically not moved at all. You are being robbed. The government doesn't give a fuck about you. They're stealing your money. They're stealing your future. They're stealing your kids' future day by day. And they're forcing you to be a speculator. The only way out is through. You cannot rely on the government to come save you. So what's the plan? Well, the blueprint's always been the same. The same playbook that has minted millionaires and billionaires for time infinite. After making sure, of course, you got the cash to cover the basic, the rent, the bills, the emergencies, all kinds of stuff, the next step, you have to invest. You have to dollar cost average on assets, things that are likely to overtake or keep ahead of the pace of inflation, and not just preserve your purchasing power, but also to multiply your wealth in the long term. Now, of course, the OG way of doing it, physical gold. Having physical gold is great if you bought it a few months ago or a couple years ago. Having several kilos of gold under the bed is hardly practical, though, of course, due to security and ease of transport and all that kind of stuff. Fortunately, there are easier ways. Welcome to the modern era. We live in a time where everything can be tokenized. For example, you can now buy gold on the blockchain. You have Paxos gold. You have Tether gold, okay? These are backed one-to-one by fine ounces of gold stored in professional vault facilities. This structure gives investors the advantages of owning physical gold without the drawbacks of needing to do self-storage and insurance and transport and all that kind of BS, okay? Now look, gold itself has increased by 50% over the last 12 months. Something crazy is brewing under the surface. That doesn't normally happen. This is an extreme move by gold, saying that a lot of investors are calling bullshit on US debt and the US dollar. But you know what gold-related asset performed even better? Gold stocks. These are shares of publicly traded companies that are involved in gold production, like mining. These stocks have increased by as much as 300% in the last 12 months, 6x outperformance versus gold. That's even better than Ethereum. I know what you're thinking, Ethereum's kind of sucked balls. Yeah, it has, but damn, we should have all bought gold miners and not Ethereum. Here's something most people miss too. Not all stocks are equal when currencies lose value. When governments print money, the cost of real things, energy, metals, food, they all start to rise. That means that companies producing all of these essentials, well, guess what? They often come out on top. Think about some of the big winners, energy giants, commodity exporters, miners. These are productive equities, businesses that create real value the world still needs, no matter what happens to the dollar. Oil, copper, uranium, all this kind of stuff becomes more valuable when the currency backing them weakens. It's not so much that everything is going on a massive rally, it's that the fiat underpinning the entire system is failing. It's the same principle as gold and silver, except these companies earn profits while holding the hard asset. By the way, my team and I will start discussing a lot more stocks and stuff in the videos and the newsletter and our private Discord. If you're not signed up to our free newsletter yet, go check it out down below. You might want to subscribe. It's pretty awesome. And of course, this will not be a crypto channel without mentioning the apex predator of assets, Bitcoin. Let's go back to the housing example. In 2010, the average price of a new home in the USA was about $272,000. Well, Bitcoin traded for around 40 cents. Now, obviously, it's pretty extreme to go that far back, but it's an interesting example nevertheless. It would have taken roughly 680,000 Bitcoin to buy a single house back then. Fast forward to 2025, the average home now costs over $500,000, but that same house can be bought with just around 5 Bitcoin. Now, from here on out, that number may not change as dramatically. Maybe in 10 years, we come back and say that same house costs 0.5 Bitcoin. It's not going to be as dramatic of a move, but it's still going in the same direction. So Bitcoin is not just protection against debasement, it's exponential wealth creation with a predicted 30% compound annual growth rate for at least the next 10 to 15 years. And here's the thing, building wealth is rarely a sprint. I know everyone wants to get rich tomorrow. I get it. It's not how it works for most people, okay? Sure, this is crypto. Fast gains can happen. You can make it big on a meme coin. I get it. Everyone wants to chase that dream. But more often than not, wealth is built through discipline and patience. It's about buying low, holding through the noise. The best time to buy? When everyone else is panicking, running for the exits. Or just to simply dollar cost average in over time with a multi-year time frame on hand, okay? But when panic comes in the market, that's when opportunities quietly transfer from the fearful to the prepared. Debasement isn't new. It's been happening for thousands of years, and it's not going away anytime soon. The only difference now is that we're lucky enough to be able to fight back with just a few clicks on a screen. That's pretty powerful. So don't waste the opportunity. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you understand what's happening. Thanks for watching.